Envirotainer's decision to regionalize carries forward the very strong legacy we have had as a company, very strong performance and market leadership in cold chain logistics. And the regional structure now allows us to be closer to the customer. One of the most impressive things I've witnessed is the fleet that we have. We covered about more than 3,000 trade lanes across the world, and we want to be closer to customers. We want to grow cold chain pharma logistics business in Asia Pacific and grow Envirotainer in the region. Hi, I am Kuntal Baveja, Regional President for Asia Pacific for Envirotainer.
Kuntal, thank you for being here. I'm so excited to meet you.
Same here. Thank you for having me, Linda, and it's very, very pleasant to be back in Seoul.
You have over 20 years of pharmaceutical experience and have held research roles at Novartis, Sandoz, and GSK, working across more than 10 countries in Asia Pacific, the United States, and Europe. What motivated you to embark on this new chapter with the Envirotainer?
Thank you for this very curious question. I'm glad you asked it. I've had the pleasure and been very fortunate to work for different divisions, different healthcare segments in the pharmaceutical industry, but there has always been one common thread. And the thread has been the purpose of making life-saving medicines accessible to patients across the world. And this is also something that Envirotainer as a company very strongly embodies, is expanding access of life-saving medicines across the world. And that's the passion that I strongly resonate with. And it was a pleasure for me to join Envirotainer as the regional president for Asia Pacific about a month ago. So absolutely a pleasure being in this role.
As you mentioned, Envirotainer recently announced its strengthened regional structure. How does this reflect the company's commitment to deepening its presence and responsiveness in the region?
Yeah, excellent question. Envirotainer's decision to regionalize carries forward the very strong legacy we have had as a company, very strong performance and market leadership in cold chain logistics. And the regional structure now allows us to be closer to the customer, closer to the growth opportunities that we see in emerging genetics industries, emerging biosimilars industries, emerging economies in Asia Pacific from Japan, China, Korea, Australia for that matter. And it's an opportunity for us to connect Asia to the world and the world to Asia.
Kuntal, coming from a strong pharmaceutical background, you must have a different perspective on cold chain logistics. I'm curious to find out what new perspectives or ideas you are most excited to bring to the industry.
So I think the first thing that comes to my mind is a reflection. Having spent 6 weeks now in the job, Linda, I have a profound respect for everybody that makes it possible for medicines to move from one part of the world, especially temperature sensitive, time critical medicines, transported from one part of the world to the other. And I now understand how operationally challenging it is, different factors that need to be taken into consideration for that to happen. And if I be honest to myself, I think I have not understood how much hard work it takes. So a profound respect is kind of the first reflections coming in. Then I think the second thing which I think we could do better, working with freight forwarders, airlines, pharmaceutical companies, and cold logistics companies, is better understanding each other's needs, right? So what type of product are we shipping? What are the circumstances in which we are shipping the product? What does it mean for the company, for the forwarder, for the shipper, for the airline, for the cold chain logistics company? And I think better understanding each other's needs will help us deliver the optimal solution. So I think there is an opportunity to collaborate and understand the need better. And I think the third part for me is the importance of what we call the last leg, right? So in pharmaceutical industry, obviously it starts with drug discovery, you go through clinical trials, you get regulatory approvals, but all this hard work then ultimately boils down to making that shipment go from the manufacturing site to the country so that it can be made possible and accessible to the patients. And I think the importance of that last leg, the importance of the team that's responsible for the last leg, I think needs to be well understood. And I think that's something coming in I am understanding, and I hope I can also communicate to the industry stakeholders about the importance of everybody involved in the logistics department, especially cold chain logistics, because we are talking about life-saving medicines.
That's impressive. We are seeing strong growth in cell and gene therapies, biotech innovations, and clinical trial expansion in the pharma sector. How are these developments shaping Envirotainer's strategy and the way you support your customers?
Yeah, so that's a very future-looking question, Linda. So, coming very fresh from the pharmaceutical industry, I know the industry is moving towards specialization. You talked about cell and gene therapies. We have future products coming from radioligand therapy. And most of the specialist therapies are extremely temperature sensitive. They're very time sensitive in the time it needs to be delivered to the patient, which means we have an increasing role to play as cold chain pharma logistics companies. And this is where I am very proud to say that Envirotainer has a company has all bases covered, right? So if you take portfolio, from a product portfolio perspective, we have active containers, we have advanced passive, we have parcels, which kind of differ based on the needs of different customers across the value chain, right from clinical trials all the way to commercial. So I think the broader portfolio, the coverage of value chain really definitely brings a lot to Envirotainer. The second is, one of the most impressive things I've witnessed is the fleet that we have. We covered about more than 3,000 trade lanes across the world. We have, I think, one of the best feedback from our customers, from our industry partners in terms of availability. We have an internal saying, if you want a container any part of the world, we have it available for you, right? And I think that's a pride that we live in because of the large fleet that we have across the world. And that really allows us then to serve customers for the different product types, different specialization, with the trade lane coverage and the fleet that we have. So I think this allows us to really work towards the specialized pharma sector that's developing in the years to come. And one more thing, I think Envirotainer is more than a product company. We encourage partnerships between all our industry partners to really talk about where our strength lies and where we can work together and educate each other on the trends in the cold chain pharma logistics. So what I really appreciate is beyond the product, the partnership with the industry stakeholders so we can take cold pharma logistics to the next level of efficiency.
Let's talk a bit more about Envirotainer's product portfolio. Envirotainer has expanded its offerings from active containers to include passive pallet shippers, parcels, covering both single-use and multi-use. From your perspective, how do customer requirements differ across these segments? For example, between large-scale commercial shipments and smaller clinical trial shipments?
That's a fantastic question. I think the first and the most important for us is to help the shippers, the forwarders, the airlines identify what is the need, and based on the need, which product and portfolio class suits better the needs. So for example, if we take all the three categories, active containers is for large volume, commercial scale shipments, temperature sensitive, moving across the world. Products like E2 or Releye are perfect fit for those kind of volume and temperature sensitivity requirements. It's also good in terms of real tracking, live monitoring. And that's the reason why I also take pride that in the recent WHO guidelines, Releye, which is one of our product portfolio, was recommended as the advanced active recommendation for distribution of vaccines. So this is where the first category suits the best. So for example, now if I talk about the second category, which is our passive solutions, this is much better for smaller volumes, decentralized setup, places where the infrastructure in terms of stations and capabilities is limited, a last mile, first mile kind of needs, suitable for clinical trials, suitable for shipments into emerging markets with limited infrastructure, and that's where it's best well suited. And for example, the third product category in parcels, they are much more smaller volumes. They require same level of urgency or temperature sensitivity, but in smaller pack sizes. And that allows us with active containers, advanced passive, and parcel to meet the needs of the pharma companies across the life cycle, as you mentioned. So this is what positions us very strongly and becomes the one place that the pharma companies, the shippers can come for all type of product solutions.
Digitalization is transforming every aspect of cold chain logistics. And Envirotainer's Releye family is a great example. How are real-time data and analytics helping you meet the evolving expectations of pharmaceutical customers and enhance reliability?
Yeah, and this is something we are most excited about, Linda. So, Releye platform represents the next generation of data-driven cold chain management, right? So, what's important in a product portfolio is to allow customers to monitor shipment integrity in transit, and that's what it provides. It provides real-time visibility. It provides analytics to allow customers to do that. It supports proactive decision making. So far, very, very reactive when incidents happen. But with our new product portfolio of Releye, that's what we are able to do, maybe proactive decision making. And most importantly, that helps us minimize the risk of losing life-saving medicine. So what we are very excited about with Releye is the opportunity to do that. It's the opportunity to minimize risk. It's the opportunity to be more data-driven, as you suggested, the opportunity to really have the integrity in transit and the proactiveness. And that's the future, and that's what we are most excited about.
Beyond technology, success in cold chain logistics also depends on teamwork and cultural understanding. You've worked with colleagues, partners, and customers from many countries. What do you believe is important when collaborating in diverse environments?
Thank you for asking this question, because this is something which is very close to my heart. Yeah, I have had the fortunate pleasure of living in more than 10 countries across Americas, Europe, and Asia Pacific, as you mentioned, Linda. I've traveled to more than 50 countries across the world, in global positions. And one thing I have learned in that journey is people are different, business needs are different, the way of doing business is different, and we need to invest time in understanding the differences. Even if you take Asia Pacific as a region, it might be a region with diverse countries, diverse culture, diverse languages, diverse way of doing business. And one thing which really helped me in my journey so far is understanding people, understanding cultures, and adapting myself to the culture and the business needs. And this is the same ambition for us. As you said, together as a team, Envirotainer Asia Pacific, we have diverse set of markets with diverse needs, and we would like to sit down with our customers, understand the cultures that are different in various Asia Pacific markets, and tailor to the needs of our customers, our countries, our cultures, so that we can deliver to them what they believe is the best value for them in delivering the common mission. So I think for me, diversity is about changing yourself for people rather than expecting people to change for you.
This year marks a very special milestone for Envirotainer, celebrating 40 years of making a lasting impact in the pharma cold chain industry. As you lead Envirotainer's next phase of growth in APAC, What are your top priorities for the upcoming years, and what legacy would you like to leave behind?
It's really fortunate for me. I'm not even 40 days in the company, and the company is celebrating 40 years. So it just is a special feeling to see what the company has been able to achieve, almost build an industry of cold chain pharma logistics, lead the industry for 4 decades, and show and demonstrate strong partnership with each of the industry partners. So it's a very strong legacy to build upon. And that's what we would like to do with regionalization of Envirotainer and myself leading the Asia Pacific region. Is I think my first priority is to listen to customers, listen to people internally, understand what we have done well in the last 40 years, what we can do better in the years to come, and then really work on them. So that's kind of really coming in fresh from outside, building on the legacy, but also taking the new desired measure to take the company to the next level. The second, I think APAC has tremendous growth potential. We talked about the manufacturing of generics, biosimilars, new molecular entities that's happening in various Asia Pacific markets, in Southeast Asia, in China, in Japan, in India. And we want to be closer to customers. We want to grow cold chain pharma logistics business in Asia Pacific and grow Envirotainer in the region. And I think the third very important priority for us as a company and for myself as a leader is to be very sincere to our customers, have honest conversations, and make sure that we give them an experience that allows them to achieve the mission, which is a common mission, which is expanding access of life-saving medicines, as I said, connecting Asia to the world and connecting world to Asia. And I think that's something we take very deeply, customer sincerity and experience. And I think as Envirotainer, as I mentioned, because of the product portfolio, because of our legacy, we are well positioned to do and what we aspire to do, and to live by the ambition we have for years and decades to come.
Kuntal, thank you very much for your valuable insights and inspiring vision with us today.
Thank you, Linda. I know you are somebody who is very passionate about cold pharma logistics, and thank you for giving me the opportunity, and thank you for bringing the recognition to this part of the industry, which is very much needed. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.